Hi there. Sorry it took me a minute to get it all together, but I hope you can hear me. And great. I am so happy to be with you today. I'm always happy to be with you, but I'm even more happier than usual. And that's probably because you're happy too. So, I want to talk about a topic that may come as a surprise to you. The question that I'm asking is: has the revolution already begun? Now, what do I even mean by that? And that's a very good question. What do you mean by the revolution? What do you mean that it's already begun? So, I want to look at what I do and don't mean by that to start with. Um, which is, see, when I talk about the revolution, I'm talking about a revolution, an inner revolution, an outer revolution, a revolution in our attitudes, in our relationship to one another, revolution in relationship to the ego, and um, a revolution in terms of the way we organize society and the way we are with one another. You know, in our organization, The Stream, we believe that the purpose of any economy and any society is to meet the needs of people and the earth. Otherwise, there is no need to have a society or an economy. It's not to create profits for some, unknown person. It's to meet needs, people's needs. I mean, you think about it, you started out bartering, people were trying to meet their needs. So, with that in mind, when I'm asking about whether the revolution has begun, what I'm really asking is, are we beginning to shift our thinking about society from we should all slave away to make profits for somebody else and maybe to get a piece of the pie for ourselves while we're stepping on other people? But are we really moving into a way of thinking that has to do with meeting needs? And I don't forget the earth, because the earth also needs, has needs. So obviously, I was referring in the beginning to the overwhelming victory of the Democratic Party. So that's great. That means there is real resistance, as we suspected, against Trump's authoritarianism, his economic policies, and corruption, and all the stuff that comes with that. So you could say, well, is that what I mean by the revolution? And it isn't. Because if we're not focusing on developing a society where we're meeting the needs of people and the earth, all we're doing is throwing those bums out without any idea of what bums we want to bring in. And now we have, the uh, astounding victory of Zoran Mandami, who was running for mayor of New York and has now been elected. And he identifies as a democratic socialist. And socialists are supposed to be empowering people. It's about changing the way we organize the economy and the society. And one of the major ways that socialism differs from capitalism is that people are supposed to own the means of production. And by means of production, they mean factories, offices, all the businesses are owned by the people. So, in the society, a lot of people don't think of democratic socialism that way. They think of it more along the lines of Norway, of Sweden, of the Scandinavian countries that have a lot of social welfare programs. And that's great, because they are at least are thinking about the needs of people on the earth. And I certainly think that's great. But electing Zoran Mondani, one guy as a democratic socialist, to be the mayor of New York, doesn't mean that we've shifted our consciousness away from the major thing that ails our society and our world, which is the domination of the ego. And when I talk about the ego, I mean, we certainly have one guy who puffs himself up and thinks everything is about him and is the ruler and the autocrat, and we know who he is. And that certainly seems to represent the ego. But it isn't just him, it's also the way we think, whether we think everything is about us individually or our family or our friends, or we're really thinking about the whole. And so when we're talking about meeting the needs of people and the earth, we're not saying meeting my needs, we're meeting our needs. And I love that Zoran Mandami really speaks to that in his rhetoric about us and we and all New Yorkers and immigrants and all kinds of people. So that's great. But that doesn't mean that the United States is starting to move in a revolutionary direction. What is telling me that that is starting, whether or not it ever goes to fruition, is what people are doing everywhere, not a couple of politicians who are running for office, as great as they may be, but that people are doing everywhere to start helping one another. As soon as the food SNAP, the food assistance was threatened, we heard of people all over the country bringing food into food banks, making donations and things like that, because we, the people, are beginning to take over meeting our own needs instead of waiting for somebody out there to tell us what to do. I'm not against leadership, believe me, that is not what I'm trying to say. But it's our attitude that we are responsible to co create the world that we want to live in. And we're beginning to do that. I heard an interview with the mayor of Evanston, Illinois, which is just north of Chicago, I think. And they were mounting an incredible defense against ICE in their community. And they were going around, they were letting people know where ICE was, what they should do, how to protect themselves. I think it was this guy who said that they were, or a friend of mine may have told me about this, but I think it was about Evanston, that they were going out and buying all the tamales from the tamale stands and the taco stands of all the Mexican people, buying them up and then distributing them to the people in need and buying them so that those people could be in a safe place instead of out there where ICE could pick them up. And then I was talking to some friends, and Todd was one of them, and he and his wife were talking about things that were going on where they live. And that's astounding because that means that we are beginning to co create the world we want to live in, that we are taking up the slack. You know, so many of us have been trained to wait for the government to fix our problems or some strong leader to come along who's going to tell us what to do and fix everything for us. Well, it hasn't happened, has it? One of the problems in a democratic society is people have to get elected. And in order to get elected, you need money. And in order to get money, you start selling out, or you start selling out because you want people to like you, because you say, oh, well, these people don't like this and these people like that. And so all before you know it, most people are just selling their souls, even if they don't want to, because that's the system. And with money dominating politics the way it does today, it's extremely difficult for anybody to actually get elected who is not doing something to get money, especially in these high stakes races. So I'm all in favor of good people going out and running for office. And it isn't that I don't think we need leadership, but what I'm saying is the revolution happens when we, the people, start to run our own lives and co-create the society we want. And you see everywhere across the nation, and this is the thing that absolutely made me ecstatic, was seeing different people in different locations who are focusing on maybe different things, but are all fighting against authoritarianism and cruelty, and how creative people are in the way they are figuring out how to fight back against this brutality that has come to our nation. So don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that I'm glad that we have brutality in our nation. But what I am saying is, aren't we better than we thought we were? It seemed like people were asleep, but it seems like now people are awake. And when I say that the battle is against the domination of ego, people who are extending themselves to one another, trying to help, trying to compensate for what the government is no longer doing, taking it on. And that's the beginning of the creation of networks of people working together to make a better society. And that's what I mean by the revolution. And it has begun. Now, where it's going to go, I don't know. I can look in my crystal ball, but it wouldn't do any good because it wouldn't help. I probably would be wrong. So I would like to, at this moment, bring on my panel, all my friends who are probably going to have wonderful stories about what they've noticed. And I just can't tell you how thrilled I am that people are going out defending trans people and gay people and Black people and Hispanics and disabled people. That because we get it, that we are one and we're all under attack and we can fight back together. So, with no further ado, let me bring on Lizzie Treehart.
Hello.
And Todd Benton.
Hi.
And James Maynard.
Hello, hello.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We haven't gotten any comments yet, even though we know that we are broadcasting, live streaming on YouTube and on my public Facebook page, Beth Green, the music and the message. And there are people watching, I'm happy to say. So please leave a comment about what you're seeing and what you're feeling on this topic. But in the meantime, let's go to our panel tonight. First of all, are we happy?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
I mean, this was a blowout. I mean, in a way, I'm not surprised that it's a blowout. It's like, are you serious? You know what's amusing is that Donald Trump is saying that, oh, the reason that the Democrats won was because Donald Trump wasn't on the ballot. Well, we know that Donald Trump was on the ballot, and that's why everyone is, why people were voting for the Democrats. Amy said, this all great topic. Probably she meant this is a great topic. Thank you, Amy. So good to see you. Okay, so who would like to begin? What?
Go
Have I
for it,
struck
Lizzie.
you dumb?
No.
Oh, I'm just trying to think of specifics.
I can go then if while
Okay,
you're thinking.
go for it.
I know a couple of things, just examples of how this is happening and what we're doing. So there's something called the crop swap that I know Christine came and talked about before. But in addition to that, so crop swap is a local event that happens in Oceanside here in California, where people bring
That's
their
near San Diego,
yes
in
near
the
San
San
Diego,
Diego area.
where people bring their vegetables that they've grown, like home gardeners bring vegetables, bring fruit, bring whatever they have there from their fruit trees, and they bring it and they set it out, and people take what they have, take what they need. So you bring what you have and you take what you need. It's the potluck revolution in action, and it's called the crop swap, Oceanside crop swap. And I'm sure they aren't the only ones that are doing that. So the other thing that we talked about
And
in
that
our
was going on before,
that's
right?
correct.
This
Yes.
is something that they spontaneously did even before the government shutdown and the mayhem and all of that stuff.
But one thing we're going to do here in our area in Bonsall in San Diego is to grow. We are growing vegetables, and we have a pretty good sized farm, if you will, on our neighbor's property. We're going to talk to her about making those fruits and vegetables available to food pantries, and partner up with others to make food, fresh grown fruits and vegetables available for people that are scared to go out of their homes and don't want to get picked up by ice. And then possibly partner with one of my clients who's a seed company, and a partnership with them and help in the distribution because they have connections to the larger community. So that's one thing that we're planning to do here.
So you haven't actually talked to any of these people yet and seen how they responded?
No, we haven't yet. But we
Okay.
will in the next yes,
Yeah,
Christina
well,
and
I
I.
was just wondering if you
Yes,
had and what the response was.
yes.
Those are great ideas.
The other thing is, I feel hopeful out of this conversation, and this was before yesterday's election, but in our session with Christine and myself and when for me, the shift was internal, and that's what you're saying. The revolution is about. It's an internal shift and an inner revolution and I've been in a state of fear, I think, mostly since Trump was elected, worried, in a state of worry about all this stuff. But when you start to see what people are doing and people taking action and hear these stories about things, it changes the whole dynamics. Like, yes, we can do this. We're in this together, and we are already doing it without any of my input. Oh, isn't that amazing?
I know exactly what you mean. I felt the same way. It's like, wait a minute, what do they need me for? They're already doing it.
Yeah.
I love
It's
that.
so cool, but it's so encouraging and supporting, and it changes the inner being that we have when we know we're part of a larger collective that's fighting for the right thing.
Yeah.
And like you said, we don't know if it's going to go all the way to what we really need is a world, an economy, a society that meets the needs of people in the earth. But even this is a step on that path. We don't know how it's going to turn out. But if we are putting our energy behind that and everyone else is, then we have a really good chance of achieving that in the long term.
Yeah, developing that muscle, a new way of thinking about
Yes.
things. Like we are all in this together rather than, oh, it's the Black movement, it's the Hispanic movement, it's the disabled movement. It was always, we were so with the women's movement, everything was so fragmented. It's like, it's wonderful when you have one oppressor. I mean, we have unity here.
Yes.
And I love that. And it's funny now they're talking about, well, the Democrats won because they hit the affordability issue. There are all kinds of Democrats won, centrist, leftist, and all that. They said, well, how are they going to bring the party together? They don't have to bring the party together. People are allowed to think and feel what they want in their locale. But it all comes down to caring about one another and trying to build a society that meets people's needs. I don't care what you call yourself. If that's what you're for, we are for the same thing. So,
Yes, yes, and that's really cool too because you're uniting around, and there's an authenticity that comes through when that's what you're fighting for. People feel it, that So
yeah, it's great. It's great. So, James, did you have your hand? I saw Lizzie first. I don't know why. So Lizzie and then James.
Um, my wife has shared with me she has seen how people are like adopting people on Snap to provide what SNAP benefits are not providing for them.
Like one family or one
Yeah, one
person.
family or several families, like whatever they can afford.
Wow, this is in your area?
Mhm. Well, I'm not
See,
exactly sure where. It was on thread on social media, but that's what people are doing.
wow,
Um, yeah, so that's really cool, people stepping up like that.
that
Um,
is cool.
And I don't know, well, like in regards to ice, there have been people like one woman, she's retired, and what she does is she follows ice, and she has a megaphone and she speaks in Spanish to tell people what to do. And people donate to her because she travels and follows ice. So they pay for her hotels, her food,
Well,
because she just travels around chasing these ICE agents. And then
good.
there's also
Yeah.
people who are intentionally going into ICE to clog it up, to stop, them going after people.
Uh, so they
So
don't have time.
right. They're somehow,
Overloading the system.
overloading or, like letting people get away or, keeping other ICE people from doing their jobs.
Oh,
Yeah.
so creative. You know what this reminds me of? Todd mentioned the potluck revolution. That's a phrase that I think that I coined many years ago. I don't know. Maybe somebody else said it before, or I haven't heard it. But the thing about the potluck revolution is that it is an American tradition to have a potluck, and I'm sure other people, other nations also do it. Everybody brings what they can. If you're poor, you don't bring the turkey. You bring you're the seventh person to bring potato salad, right? And then everybody brings what they can, and they take what they need, and it works beautifully. And so what we're describing, I mean, everything that you're talking about, different people doing different things because they have that skill or they have that capacity. My gift is I can speak. That's about all I can do, but I can do it and I'm going to speak. And so I'm bringing my speaking, I mean, to the table. I'm not saying we wouldn't make a donation or anything, but in terms of real activism. And so why this is important is this brings us back to our roots, our real roots, the Quakers and all the religious communities. Not that I'm in favor of religion, but the communities that came to the United States who were communitarian, that they came together and they supported one another. It's unfortunate that so many of the American early settlers were so racist against Native Americans. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that everybody was perfect, but what I'm saying is that was in the spirit of the times. And if your barn burned down, you were going to have everybody. I mean, Lizzie knows that because she grew up on a farm. I bet even in your day, when you were growing up, people came together who on farms because they needed help. I can't imagine that people didn't get help from their neighbors. I where I lived in New York City, and we didn't have sewers. Uh, we were very poor, so we bought the cheapest houses we could in the city, and they didn't have sewers. And when it rained, it flooded. And the only times and this is what I saw from my experience, all of a sudden you would hear a knocking on the wall because we were in row houses. All the houses were related and they were on a hill. So the people who were flooding first would start knocking on the wall to the next neighbor who knocked on the wall to the neighbor, next to them. And there was some sense. Now, there was also the downside, which is you're sitting there and you're watching people coming in and looting when the floodwater is coming down. You say, oh my God, how could people be like that? But let's look at the other part, how in a crisis, when there were fires where we lived, there was a lot of people coming together. So this is not foreign. This is natural. This is natural for everybody. It's natural for Americans. It's just we've been so brainwashed that the only thing that counts is making money
And spending money.
and spend. Oh yeah, because we can't survive without spending. I saw something today that was really interesting, and somebody was saying that people are saying they're laying off people because of AI, artificial intelligence, and that artificial intelligence is really pushing a lot of people out of work. And these people said they were doing a study. It's not artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not knocking people out of work. The companies are downsizing, or the companies are tightening their belts, or companies are trying to please somebody on top. And it has nothing to do, what they were saying was it had nothing to do with AI. So the consciousness that in the nation has been so corrupted by capitalism and by our values being upside down by the golden ballrooms. And so, James, take it away.
Yes. By the way, one of the things that I learned about recently was that in Chicago, they developed a whistles campaign where people would see ICE doing something, they blow the whistle on them, and somebody else would hear that whistle and they'd blow their whistle. And the next thing you knew, there were whistles all around, and people would gather and they would do things to stop ICE from abusing people. Of course, having cell phones now, these days, anybody can take a video and send it right on to the internet.
And
So,
people aren't doing that,
and they're doing that. This is revolutionary too. But
right? Even
I,
though they're under threat themselves,
what's that again?
even though they can be under
Yeah, they
threat
can be under threat
themselves.
themselves. That's right. That's right. But if there's multiple people using their cameras, their cell phone cameras, hey, accountability is starting to happen with ICE more and more and more because there's evidence of their abuses that are going to the judges, and the judges are issuing orders. So this is great. Another thing that's really strikes me too is that I participated in those couple of No Kings rallies, which had millions and millions of people involved. And now, with this election yesterday, the new governor of Virginia was quoting that and saying, "We want no kings at all. We will not obey a king. We only obey the Constitution." So I like to think, hey, you know what? All of those rallies and putting that out there in the collective consciousness, it's seeped into her consciousness and lots of other people. And she's in a position to do something. Another thing that really strikes me is that uh, Mamdani is,
That's the Democratic Socialist
is a Democratic Socialist just elected
elected
of New
mayor
York
of New
State.
York. I almost want to move back now.
I mean, this is truly revolutionary because he's a Democratic Socialist. That's been anathema. The Red Scare has been a phenomenon of this country. And here you're talking about the potluck revolution and defusing that. And shucks, what are the happiest nations on earth? They're the Scandinavian nations. Why? Because they care about the people. They are a mixed system of socialism and free enterprise, such that people's needs are getting met. That's revolutionary to have that happen now here in the United States. And if he is successful in helping people in these kind of ways, it becomes a role model for other cities to emulate because the people want to have those needs met. So I love to see this. And by God, we got to just keep on keeping on, keep speaking up, rallying, demonstrating, supporting those who are doing these kinds of things.
Right on. Um, there was in the beginning of Mom Donnie's acceptance speech yesterday, he quoted right in the beginning Eugene Victor Debs, who was a socialist, uh, who was in prison in the United States, I think, if I remember correctly. Like over 100 years ago. Or, don't quote me. I have no memory. But anyway, and that young men voted overwhelmingly for Mamdani. Overwhelming young men that the Democrats were losing. You know, just goes to show you that because you mentioned the Red Scare, James,
Mm-hmm.
that that trick is not working as well anymore.
Yeah.
You know, somebody who stands up and says, "Oh, I want to help people," is a communist and therefore is an enemy of the United States. You know, it's crazy. It's always been crazy, but it's been used. The existence of Stalin and the Soviet Union has always been used against people who were on the left, really just talking about social and economic revolution. And to see that people, well, that he won by a little over 50%, at least that was what the number was still this morning. And despite the fact that President Trump endorsed Andrew Cuomo. Unbelievable.
A Democrat.
The Democrat, the guy who was the Democrat, who was the governor of New York, Democratic governor of New York. And Trump ignored the Republican and endorsed Cuomo, who was running, who lost to Mamdani and was on the ticket as an independent. So everything is getting shaken up. Everything is getting shaken up. And there were 2 seats in something in some delegate, some House of Representatives somewhere from Mississippi, that Black people won, the Democrats won those 2 seats thanks to the federal court stopping the gerrymandering in Mississippi. They finally voted for Democrats. You know, I think we can. I don't know if people have more to say, but when we want to end, I think we should sing Bob Dylan's song. And the times they are a changing. So I've been optimistic before and gotten crushed. You know, when I saw Bernie Sanders riding the rodeo, I thought, oh my God, he's going to win. But the establishment Democrats killed him. Well, they couldn't kill Mamdani. And so, whether you agree with his politics or not, there is a change in the way people are thinking and feeling. And we can thank Donald Trump and how much he has brought to the fore how selfishness and corruption and venality and just, capitalism run wild with no guardrails hurts everybody. So, does anyone have anything else they would like to share before we close for tonight? Okay. So, so who's going to sing and the times
You
they
can, because I don't know the words.
Oh, James?
I don't know all the words, but I can get the words up on my cell phone.
Okay, get them on your cell phone. Everybody knows who Bob Dylan is? I
Yes,
hope.
I definitely know who Bob Dylan is.
Okay.
And I know a lot of his songs, but I don't know that one well
No,
enough to sing it by word,
no,
by
okay,
heart.
no, but I wasn't talking to, but there may be people out there
Mhm.
who don't know who Bob Dylan is. He was part of the folk singing revolution that happened in the United States, like in the 60s. And he and Joan Baez and Pete Seeger and all of these people were singing these revolutionary songs. And okay, James, if you can't find it, we can just end with singing that one line.
I'll go with a few lines here.
Okay, great.
Come gather around, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown. And you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone. For the times they are
They
a
are
changing.
changing.
Da, 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 la, 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 la. For the times they are
They
a
are
changing.
changing.
There's also a line about, come senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorways, don't block up the hall, etc., etc. Make way for the times that are changing.
That's right. And that was the 60s, and it's back better than ever. The 60s, 70s. I mean, I was an activist during all those times, and this is amazing. The number of people, the degree of real participation, the creativity. this is probably the first time in my life I can say I am proud to be an American. And, that we're not just people who bomb and kill other people. So thank you for joining us. Come back next Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, and see Lighting the Way with Beth Green and friends. And also Thursday nights, we have magical improvs with the Kindred Spirits Band. That's us, James and me, on YouTube and Facebook. Thursday night, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Wednesday night, Lighting the Way, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. Bye-bye.